Hello, 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 everybody. Welcome to the Dope. We're reviewing Loki Nexus event today, and I'm very excited to talk about this episode. This is my favorite episode thus far. Can't wait to get into it with my people, who I can see backstage, even if they don't know this. I can actually see them backstage when they're in the green room, and so I'm going to bring on the man who had all the sweetest dance moves during our 30-second countdown. Dahveed, what's up, buddy? How you doing?
I'm doing well. That was some good music. It was a jam.
It was a bop for sure. It was a bop for sure. Also, we have joining us from the other side of the pond, Crystal Hollis. Crystal, how you doing?
Hey, I'm all right. I'm sad I missed out on Dahveed's dance moves, though.
It was
throw
hot.
that out there. I don't doubt it.
Well, it was good. It was good stuff. As it says at the bottom, spoiler warning, we're getting into like the nitty gritty, all the things about this episode. Off the bat, Dahveed, what are your just like initial thoughts about this episode?
I really loved it. Throughout it, it warmed my heart. It broke my heart, and in the end, it made my heart grow 3 sizes.
Yes, I love it. Crystal, what about you? What were your initial thoughts about this episode?
Unlike the Grinch and Dahveed, apparently my heart did not grow. I love this episode. I think this is my favorite episode so far. And I watched it and just had to kind of stop for a minute and be like, what the actual just happened? I thought it was incredibly well written. I like how it really just upended a whole bunch of stuff for me. And I think I've already watched it 3 times. Just looking for stuff. So I loved it. I think it's the best one so far, personally.
100% agree. 100% agree. So we start this episode off. We'll do this as we usually do. We kind of just run through the beats of the episode, and then we'll comment on the various beats. So the first beat we get, we don't pick up right where we left off. We actually start off at dear old Asgard, and we see a young Sylvie, playing with her toys. I think she's playing with a Fenris wolf, and what's the other creature that she has fighting it?
She has a Valkyrie. She mentions a Valkyrie too.
She mentions a Valkyrie. Yep. And so we see her playing, having a good time, just being a kid, living life, like this one over here. And what's up, Ella? Ella is not allowed to watch Loki. It's too much. But then we get a young timekeeper, Ravonna Renslayer, saying, "Hey, you've committed crimes against the sacred timeline. Come with me." She's not a judge yet, and just rips this kid from her home. They reset the timeline there. They try and put her on trial, but she kicks Renslayer, takes her Tim pad, and gets away. So we kind of get, like, in this opening sequence, this really interesting origin story of Sylvie. Crystal, what did you think about this opening sequence?
It kind of took me by surprise, like that the first shot that we really saw was Asgard. I was like, huh, what are we doing here? And I thought that it did a nice job of just giving Sylvie a little more backstory without spending lots of time with exposition. And I love how it's Ravonna and Sylvie, like it's those two against each other, and it's very clear that there's like some sort of axe to grind, and that had been clear from like episode 1 that something was going on there, but now we finally have that fleshed out. I love the detail of the toys. I have to say, when I noticed little Fenris, I was so excited.
Same.
But the way just watching like this small child like go through this processing was pretty heartbreaking. Watch her be all nervous, and then just that moment of little mini triumph when she steals the temp pad and kind of disappears and runs off. I thought it was a great way to open it. especially considering where we left off. Like, I was expecting to tune in and like find out immediately like what happens to them on the planet, but no, I had to wait. I had to be patient. It's not my strong suit.
Yeah, for real. I was like freaking out. I'm like, oh, what's happening next? Dahveed, what about you? What do you think about this opening sequence? Anything that stuck out to you?
So how does she have a Fenris toy if Fenris is Loki's child? Different continuities. That's the actual
different.
It's different. No, although it was so sad to see how scared she was when she was grabbed. I mean, just imagine any child of 8-ish, 9-ish. I don't know anyone under the age of 15 is just baby, and then they turn into a human. I can't tell ages. I don't understand. But no. It was just heartbreaking to see her get kidnapped, just straight up get kidnapped out of nowhere, and go through all the same stuff that Loki did, with mostly the same people, which was interesting. I mean, Mobius said time works differently there, and also Loki's a couple thousand years old, so how much time went from Sylvie being a child to like just considering how she ages. But then I saw something that pointed out the guy that was getting arrested when she went into the
processing.
Yeah. He's one of the clerks in an earlier episode in the TVA.
Really?
Oh.
Yeah, he has a full beard and hair in this episode, but it's the same actor, so presumably the same character as one of the clerks on a computer. He's got a mustache there, and it's just, oh, that's a cute moment that only the eagle-eyed would see.
Also, because like this is a show full of unreliable narrators, that tells us that this, at least this particular thing, is the truth.
Yes.
Yeah.
Also, Renslayer, her name it was A178, and her first appearance in Marvel Comics was Avengers 178.
Oh, I love those little details.
Yeah, it's so nice. I really hope she has a warrior space princess origin. Like if we see her enchanted and she remembers things, because that would be so cool. Because that's what
that would be pretty awesome. Yeah. So after that opening, we get the Loki title, which, by the way, I don't think we've mentioned it. I love the Loki title and the music that plays at that point. Like, I just love it so much. I love all the music in this. Apparently, someone just sent me a TikTok. Apparently, the woman that did the music on Britain's Got Talent years ago disrupted the show and threw eggs at Simon Cowell, and now she's doing the music for Loki. I don't know if it's true, but there's a video of this woman throwing eggs, and they're like, "That's Natalie Holt. She went on to do the music for Loki." I'm like, "That's weird."
Wow.
So, yeah, I'll send you that TikTok. It's amazing. So we go on to see Renslayer go presumably speak to the Timekeepers. We see them in their glowing red-eyed glory. We're like, I guess at this point we're supposed to believe they're real. We're like, whoa, this is crazy. I was not expecting to see them because I was convinced that they were dead or not a thing. So I was very shocked at this point, very confused. She comes out. She's immediately interrupted by Mobius, who is absolutely Mike. Mike says, been looking forward to this discussion, but he's just getting into the car. He'll drop some comments that we can put up on the screen when we feel like it. Love it. Yeah, absolutely, Mike. And he's like, hey, I need to talk to what's her name? C30? I think is her designation.
I thought it was 20.
C20. C20. Yeah. Needs to talk to C20. And she's like, no, you can't talk to her, can't talk to her. And then she finds, no, she's dead. Okay. She could barely speak by the time she got here, and she died. Something that Sylvie did to her with the enchantment has like broken her mind, and she just apparently died because of reasons. I feel like Mobius doesn't believe this, even in this moment. I feel like he is not convinced about that. I think he's starting to suspect at this point. What do we think about this? About that conversation? Like, I know that's not a huge scene, but Dahveed, just real quick, it's about that exchange. Do you think that Mobius bought that?
He doesn't look to buy it. At the very least, he's in shock about it. It's finding out that your friend has died of a brain embolism or a heart attack at 20. You're just like, that makes no sense. And honestly, we hadn't, like, it was believable for us because we saw her just sitting there being like, it's real, it's all real. But I could believe that she spiraled out like that. But even then, how would he know? How would any of them know? It's just, I think he was mostly in shock.
What about you, Crystal? Do you think he bought that, or do you think he was like, something's wrong at this point?
I don't think he bought it, especially with what happens next. But I don't think he bought it. The way he reacted, it kind of was more curiosity of like, did she? Than oh my God, no, sort of thing. I don't think he fully accepted / believed it.
I think he at this point is starting to say something is not right here. I think he's starting to feel really uneasy about everything that's going on at this point. After this, we finally get back to where we left off with Loki and Sylvie, back on Lamentus 1. We see that apparently it wasn't quite as immediate as it felt in there. They had time to go walk off and find a nice quiet rock to sit on and have another, conversation, which I love, by the way. I know a lot of people complained about last episode being filler. Was a lot of the like online vitriol was that, this last episode 3 was stupid and filler. I don't think it was filler at all, for the record. I think that the last episode was a super important episode, especially because this is the first episode where we really get to see Sylvie, and we have to identify with her and get into her narrative. So I really, really appreciated that. But this conversation between them is very interesting. She explains kind of what we see in that first sequence, that she was taken when she was very young, and basically has lived her entire life in apocalypses, or what's the plural of that? Apocalypses. Apocalypses. I was doing a little Mystery Men paraphrasing there, and he's like, "Oh, it's my nemesis. What's the plural on that?" It's nemesis. Whatever. Love that movie, by the way. Mystery Men is awesome. And so they have this heartwarming moment. Loki and Sylvie hold hands, and this creates a huge Nexus event. A spike that they've never seen before. We cut back to the TVA. We see B-15 and Mobius right there. Like, what's that? Like, I've never seen a branch like that before. And they find them and come save them just as the Lamentus 1 is about to go up in space debris. What do we think about this sequence? Crystal, let's start with you.
I loved Mobius's line, "That's not someone stepping on the wrong leaf." I love that detail, because I love having this knowledge that things that are that minor could cause a branch. Like, a leaf is a leaf in the fall, right? If there's leaves on the ground, you just crunch them, right? The idea that there's right and wrong ones.
Yeah.
I just love that detail. I loved the scene with Loki and Sylvie talking. I really enjoy their on-screen chemistry, and I really enjoy the conversations they have, and I didn't feel like it was filler at all. And I liked how basically it's like them being together in the same spot at the same time, and then like at one point, like, he holds her hand or something. Like, that's when it like takes off, and the fact that like those tiny little like human moments are what sets off this massive spike that they have to interfere with. plot-wise I thought was really interesting, and it did make me want to keep watching to see what was going to happen. So I just loved how it was orchestrated, and it wasn't too long either. So
yeah, no, I thought it was a very
it was, like,
succinct
perfect.
scene for sure. Yeah, Dahveed, what about you?
First of all, to go off of what you said about the criticism of the previous episode, this moment and several moments this moment and then several other moments in this episode were purchased by the previous episode. If they had just had them sitting there talking and, the slight touch on his arm and then the holding of hands without all of the previous hour of the show, it would have been very much where's this coming from?
Yep.
So we needed that. We probably could have done with even more of that if they wanted. Same with his friendship with Mobius. I almost felt like I could have dealt with 15, 20 more minutes of footage of them becoming friends, because I'm wondering how much time did they spend with together to actually have a friendship. But then while they were talking, it was her sadness at her past, at what had happened, was so well done. Like, in her face, she really did. The actor did a wonderful job portraying Sylvie's heartbreaking pain over time.
Yeah.
Again, over 1,000 or 2,000 years of growing up in that. And especially when she looks at him and goes, "So is what makes a Loki," which, again, is a callback to earlier episodes. But she's like, "Is what makes a Loki that we always lose." And then he says that they survive, which, do ya? Do ya, though? But no.
But they do. It's true. Like, he always loses, but he always somehow gets away alive. And I'm wondering, is that what caused the spike, that they were going to die when they shouldn't have?
It's
It
possible.
was my question, because what makes Loki a Loki is survival, but they were about to die there, and that spike goes off the charts. Maybe these Lokis are not supposed to die. Like, that would be a huge aberration to the sacred timeline. So I don't know. I'm thinking maybe that could be a red herring.
Well, fair. That's a good thought.
Yeah, like, I don't know. Like, I'm so confused now. Like, usually, and I'm sure, Dahveed, you're probably the same way, because we're both long-time comic book fans. When I'm watching, I'm not usually here to get surprised. I, generally speaking, know what the beats of the thing is going to be and where it's going to end up. I'm like, oh, you're doing this thing, I know where it's going to go, generally speaking. I have no freaking clue with this. I'm not as familiar now, with Loki as I am with some other characters. So maybe that's part of my reason why I'm a little bit more confused on this particular one. But, like, I'm so confused. I have no idea where they're going with this. I don't know. What are you feeling like that, Dahveed? Do you feel a little bit kind of like lost in the woods here? Like, it's exciting for me to feel that way, because I usually don't feel that.
I don't know how we're getting to, like, the timekeeper reveal didn't happen the way I think it would, but there was a reveal. Like, several things in this episode surprised me. Yes. And I was just like, oh no. But looking at the ads and all that, I have no idea. And the post-credit scene was shocking and wonderful for me. So wonderful for me. But yeah, I don't know how are we going to get to President Loki, which has not happened in this episode. And we only have 2 episodes left. And like, where is the plot going for this? This felt like a second to last episode, but we have 2 episodes left. And some obviously pretty big moments have to happen. Like President Loki and I don't know and how he gets there from where he is at the end of this episode.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's super exciting. I'm so happy to be this, like, confused and thrilled by this series. It's like, if they stick the landing, because I've felt really happy with both of the previous two series at this point in where they would be comparatively. But I feel that both Falcon and the Winter Soldier, as well as WandaVision, both had trouble sticking their landings. And if they stick the landing on this one, I think I'm going to be super, super happy. Just saying. Okay, so coming out of this, we get they get saved. We go back to the TVA. Sylvie has a pretty big security detail. Loki has 2 guards and a Mobius. Loki is not happy about this. Thinks it's very insulting. He's just as dangerous as she is, if not more dangerous. And I love that his ego never takes a break in this show. It's so funny. He's always trying to puff out his chest. He's hilarious. And now that I've seen how Mobius kind of recontextualizes like Loki's preening, like it feels so pathetic now, which I kind of love, that like the bite has been taken out of Loki in this larger than life, weird, upside down, out of the timeline place that he finds himself in. He gets tossed into a time cell, and we get the this very exciting reveal. He's caught in a bad memory where he cut Lady Sif's hair, and she's pissed off, so she slaps him, calls him some names, says he sucks, kicks him in the balls, and punches him in the face. And this happens to him over and over and over again. And we get the great Jamie Alexander reprising her role as Lady Sif. First time we've seen her since like season 2 maybe of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. She popped up for 1 episode. Fallout from Thor the Dark World is the last time that we saw Lady Sif in the MCU. Super excited to see her back. And this just keeps happening over and over again. So yeah, let's stop there real quick before we go to the next scene. What did we think about the return of Lady Sif? Let's start with Dahveed.
Okay. Before that, love the Loki Mobius moment of Loki saying, "You betrayed me," before Mobius, because the first time I saw that, I thought it was switched, and then was like, wait a minute, and went back, and it's like, oh, Loki's upset that moment, like, and it set up a good little bit of, you're a bad, like, they were friends. And
you're an asshole and a bad friend. Yeah, how'd you like that? I love Owen Wilson's acting in this, I have to say.
Yes. Also, Loki just straight away being like, "Oh, what are you gonna call me? The god of self-sabotage?" And it's just, "Oh no, you think all these things, don't you? Oh, little buddy."
Y'all keep going. I'll be right back. Keep talking.
Okay. But then the return of Lady Sif is funny because, well.
Uh-oh. I was going to say, Dahveed, get back here.
I have a thing about tricksters. This book is Trickster Makes This World. It's all about trickster myths throughout. I had it over on my special bookshelf of books I love, which is in this room. But yeah, so I recognize the moment Sif's hair, Loki cut that off in one of the old myths.
He actually shaves her head, and then they have to go and ask the dwarves to spin the gold.
Yeah, and she turns blonde. There's also, I think 2 or 3 times in the comics, they do different versions of that story. One when he's a little kid, one when he's older. Yeah, and so I was like, oh, that's awesome. This, him cutting her hair has roots. Unlike her hair anymore, because he cut it all off. Ow!
But
so Mike preloaded a bunch of reactions. So
Maui, where's your face?
I'm with you.
Okay.
Always.
So
what we're talking about, Mobius. We're still talking about Mobius and
we were talking about
Loki?
Sif and trickster myths.
Oh yeah, with Sif.
Yeah, we were talking about trickster myths.
Mike preloaded a bunch of reactions.
Oh.
because he's driving back. So he's like, I'm gonna pre-roll a bunch of my reactions to what you're saying. So he thought that scene was very surprising.
I loved
and heartbreaking. So there you go.
I loved it. I loved out of all of the things, like we have stories of when he was like pranking Thor and stuff, and I just love how out of all of the memories and all the things that we could have done, it's him cutting Sif's hair that he gets thrown into. Because
it's such a petty thing. It's amazing. Yeah.
Part of me kind of like wish it was the time he turned Thor. He was a snake though and scared Thor.
That would be awesome.
Because that would have been funny.
Or the time that he convinced Thor that Ratatosk was his baby.
Loki's such an asshole. I love it. But yeah, that's a good call, Dahveed. That's such a great scene, and also think it lays track for some of the stuff later. Like, it's establishing that like Mobius was like, oh, you're a bad friend. Like Mobius was getting attached to Loki. I think that he kind of meant that, like, you're a bad friend. I was trusting you. I thought you were on our side. I found that to be very interesting. I really love their chemistry. And you're getting these two very different schools. You're getting like, Hiddleston's like British School of Acting and Owen Wilson's like just casual off the cuff Texan acting. And it's just really interesting to see how well their styles kind of blend together. You get this really good buddy cop, like a better buddy cop energy than the previous show that was supposed to be a buddy cop show.
Yeah.
Which is fascinating.
It's all the quips for me back and forth. That just
anything else on this sequence with Mobius and Loki and Lady Sif and Loki, or shall we move on?
I think I'm good.
Okay. So moving on, we then see while he's in the time cell, Mobius goes to talk to Renslayer. He's trying to, figure out, what's going on, why they caused that spike. She's like, work your Loki. He's obviously getting like super frustrated. Meanwhile, we cut to. Oh yeah, that's right. He tries to go and see Sylvie. She won't let him see Sylvie. He goes and stops by the cell, and goes to talk to B-15, who's there. B-15 seems to be off. Something seems to be up with B-15. She pulls him aside, says, "Hey, did Loki say anything while you're in there? Like what, And he says, "Yeah." He said the TV is lying to me, and you see like that shakes her. And she's like, but she doesn't want to really go into it. She's like, it's fine. Very curious moment between her. We cut back to Loki. He's still in this time loop. He's done. We see him open up to Sif and say, like, I'm pathetic. I suck. I did it because I'm lonely. And she's like, she doesn't give him any reprieve. She's just like, oh, you're always going to be lonely. You're a miserable creature. Like, she doesn't kick him in the balls, but she still kicks him in the balls with that comment. It's pretty savage. At this point, we get Mobius coming back in, and they have their next conversation. He pulls him out. It looks like maybe Loki's going to open up, and then he does this thing like, oh, I was behind the whole thing, la 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 la. Mobius lies and says, we pruned Sylvie. And you see Loki change very quickly there. He's like, you did what? Like, he gets really pissed off, which to me is saying, well, maybe he really does care for her. Maybe this isn't a game. You could never trust a Loki, but it seems like maybe he's really falling for themselves. It's a fascinating scene. Owen Wilson kind of gets fed up with him, says, "Well, toss him back in the time cell. Let's soften him up some more, try and get more out of him." Not before he gives him a dressing down for like being in love with himself, and just calling him like, "Really, are you that big of a narcissist?" It's a pretty great dressing down that Mobius gives him in that moment. And he tries to tell him the truth that, like, the TVA is a lie, la la la. He doesn't believe Loki. He tries to throw him back in, and then I believe this is the moment where Loki calls, says, "You're the biggest liar here." He's like, oh, because I lied to you about your girlfriend. He's like, no, because you're lying to yourself because you know something. Because Loki's like, you're too smart to not know that there's something really wrong. There's something rotten in Asgard, to paraphrase the Bard. What do we think about this sequence, Crystal?
Ooh, Owen Wilson, like, has just surprised me time and again in this series. Like, he's just so good. And I love the chemistry with them, and the kind of slide into conflict has been great. And I love this whole, you know, like you said, like, you're the biggest liar here sort of deal that comes out of it. You know, you have Loki who's trying to be like, the TVA is, you know, you're all variants, you know, I'm trying to help, you know, he's doing his roundabout way of trying to be the savior in a sense. And Mobius just is like, no, screw you. But at the same time, I love how Loki's like, I'm gonna call you out. You're smart enough to know that something's not adding up.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that they just go back and forth is just, it's great. It built a lot of tension. And it answered for me anyway, because I know we mentioned B-15 just briefly just now. When it was announced that like C-20 had died, I was like, what about B-15? Because she also had been temporarily enchanted. Maybe not as long, but it's kind of like, what's going on with her? So the fact we got to see her also shaken, also a little off, like not as severely like damaged as C-20 was when we last saw her, but a little just something's not right. Which of course gets answered later, but
I think it's also kind of a red flag in that moment because that Ravona's lying. Like, if you're not sure if she's lying or not at this point, seeing B-15 there and shook but relatively okay, when we know that she's also been enchanted, you know, I don't think the rest of the TVA realizes it, because I think Loki's literally the only one that sees that. So unless she divulged that information,
right,
you know, they wouldn't know. Like, Owen Wilson sees her, like, hey, what's going on? She's like, he got away. I don't know. Like, she doesn't really say much in that moment. I went back to rewatch that to see if there was any other observer to that moment. So I think it's significant for us, the viewer, but there's no way that Owen Wilson or the rest of the TVA would know that she had been enchanted.
But I think it's just huge that she behaves differently and that we get to still see her, because it just beefs up that whole something's going on with Ravonna.
Yep. In terms of what we can see, I think is a big, like, something's wrong. Mm-hmm.
With klaxons.
Yeah, absolutely. Dahveed, what about you? What do you think about this moment?
The laugh that Owen Wilson does when Loki gets upset and then tries to play it off, because he's visibly upset and then it's just like, no, I'm fine. Good riddance to her. And Wilson does a great, looks up and then just starts a low laugh, mocking Loki. And just the way his kind of mocking and making fun of Loki really gets to him as well. I think this interrogation scene is fantastic and very, very different than the Avengers interrogation scene, where Loki is just being incredibly boastful and insulting, and Scarlet Witch somehow reads it. In this one, Loki is on the defensive the entire time. He is trying to be his boastful self. He is trying, and I also think it's telling that he's taking the rap for her. Because he doesn't know she's dead yet. And he's like, no, it was all me. I'm the one who did it. Like, he's taking the rap for her. He's being good. He's, snitches get stitches. She's good with knives. No, and I think he's also kind of lying to himself a little bit when he goes off. But Owen Wilson's low mocking laugh at him was fantastic. I think that was a great moment between the two. And because Loki also looks kind of hurt as well as angry over that. This entire episode is a whole lot of Loki being insulted and angry at, well, Loki's being insulted by situations and people and being very upset by it.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah, yeah. There's so much happening. I feel like there's just constantly chess moves happening and people trying to like hoard the information from each other. No one's being completely truthful with the other, right? You can never know what to trust from people. We know what you can trust from people, but like they have no idea. You know.
I did like Owen Wilson saying to, or Mobius saying to Loki, "You playing checkers, me playing chess."
Oh yeah, I love that line.
Yeah. So he gets tossed back in the time cell. We cut back to B-15, who is still very, very shook. She's looking at a poster. I'm pulling it up now. The poster says, "Did you get them all? Verify through deletion." This is referring to variants. And obviously, it feels like B-15 is thinking to herself, am I a variant? You know, what's going on? It's very, very interesting. Staring at this causes her to go into the cell where they're holding Sylvie. We see Sylvie for the first time in a while. She takes her through a time door back to the rocks cart. Meanwhile, while that's happening, we cut back to Ravonna, and Mobius is signing paperwork, finishing up, closing this case. He also does that intentional look at the pen again. I really want to know what the significance of the pen is. It's driving me insane. She has her trophy, which seems to be, I think it's one of Sylvie's sword, I think is what that trophy was. He said, "Oh, what are you going to do with that?" After they have their short little kind of back and forth where he's like, "Oh, I knew I was your favorite analyst." Wow, I'm awesome. Doing his all shucks thing. And I think she asked in this moment, like, anytime, any place in time or space, like, where would you go? She asked him. It's a question that will come back later. It's a good echoing moment. I don't remember what his answer was in this moment, but we know that he's going to say something again later.
Wasn't it?
Oh, here it is. She says, "Come on, anytime, anywhere on the timeline, where would you go?" He says, "I like being here now with you, doing the work." That was his answer. And that's when he says, "Oh, what are you gonna do with that thing?" She puts it up on her mantle. While she does this, he swaps TemPads with her, and then quickly says, "Oh, I'm so tired. Gonna go hit the dusty trail, go turn in, call it a night." And she can tell. So, "What's going on with you?" He's like, "Oh, nothing. I'm fine." He's like, "Oh, I'm fine. Oh, wow. I'm awesome." And
Wow.
He's so weird. Wow. And it's like a cat. It's like a cat noise. We cut back to the rocks cart where Sylvie and B-15 are finishing their conversation. And B-15 is like, "What the hell did you do to me? What did you put in my head?" She's like, "I can't create memories. I just found what was already there." She says, "Show me again." And when you talked about Sylvie's face acting earlier, B-15, Wumi Masaki's acting in this scene, she doesn't say a single word while she's being shown the truth. So we're not hearing anything being said, but I feel like we're hearing every word of what's being said. She plays it all on her face so beautifully. And then after that's over, she just opens her eyes and says, "I was happy." Like it's so heartbreaking, like realizing like I had an entire life. Like I could see it all, like on her face. Like she had a family, she probably had kids, that she loved. She lived a happy life, and she was just ripped away from it all. And it's super, super heartbreaking. Or hold on a second, let me use yeah, Mike said that was heartbreaking. So thanks for the stock reactions. Yeah, it's a great sequence. It's a really great sequence. Does she say anything else at the end of that? I think maybe she says like, "So what now?" Yeah, she says, "What now?" at the end of that, and then we cut back to Mobius. We'll stop there because I really want to talk about that sequence right there. Dahveed, what did you think about that segment? We have two scenes here to talk about. We have the Ravonna Mobius, and then B-15 and Sylvie.
B-15 before the Ravonna Renslayer. Before the Renslayer Mobius scene, you get before any of that, it struck me that B-15 is standing there alone, obviously just shaking with doubt, and her helmet is off and on the shelf behind her. And when she walked off with purpose, maybe not glorious, but with purpose, she walked off with a goal, having left her helmet there. That was, oh, okay, something's like, you saw her doubt herself there and it's a silent scene. And you see so much inner struggle, and then her angrily walking off. And from everything we've seen of her, she is not the type to leave, for instance, her helmet just sitting on a shelf in a hallway. Like that could have gone either way. When she was walking in and demanding to go in, she could have walked in and just killed Sylvie. She could have walked in and had that discussion that we saw. We don't like it was obvious that she wasn't going in just to interrogate, and that was beautifully done. But then the Mobius Renslayer talk, you see, I think he had his doubts from talking with Loki from earlier, but she catches him. I think that was another dance where they both know that something's wrong, because he very much is probing on questions about Sylvie, probing on questions about C20. He calls her Sylvie while Renslayer is still calling her the variant. It's which had a feeling for me of, don't humanize your prisoners.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's starting to, through his friendship and damaged friendship with Loki, he's starting to care about more. But yeah, I also like that Sylvie pretty much just thought that she was going to have to do a mano-a-mano fight with B-15.
Mm-hmm.
That was a nice setup, and then tables turned.
The nicest part about the turning of B-15 is that through the first 3 episodes, we've coded her to be the zealot. Mm-hmm. She's the hardcore believer. Obviously it feels like Owen Wilson really believes in what he's doing, but his personality is so much more aloof, where she just seems to no, the job is everything. This is all that matters. And so to see her turn, perhaps a little bit too quickly, but I think she does a great job of acting it to really sell it. Mm-hmm. But you mentioned we could probably have done with one more episode. We could have done with what we did with episode 3 for Loki and Sylvie. We probably could have done another episode like that for some of these TVA people to kind of root ourselves further into these characters, for sure. Crystal, what did you think about this?
The poster for me was one of the really jarring moments, when it's make sure you get them all sort of thing, when she's just staring at it and you can kind of see the gears turning in her head, which again, as you just said, she's been the zealot, that's not what her character normally does. And the change that you get when she goes in to talk to Sylvie, and she's basically what did you do? What did you do to me? And they takes her back to that is at Rock's cart. Mm-hmm. I also love the fact that Sylvie was right, let's fight, let's do it. I'm ready. I can do this. Fair enough. You want to fight? Okay, cool. She's just so combative and so defensive that she's ready for anything. And just again, the acting, like you said, I don't have anything else to add, but the acting when it was all on B-15's face, you can see what's going on, and just that line, like, I was happy, just, it's so heartbreaking to see this character that was really like a pillar of strength for the organization as we knew it. And it just crumbles. For Mobius and Ravana, though, I thought, you know, there's always this little like cat and mouse sort of thing going on with them, where it's like there's this weird, like, there's a history, is it attraction, what's going on there? But then also some sort of, I know something you don't know, him trying to figure something out, and she's constantly trying to lead him off of down other paths. I just loved that he stole the temp pad. That was all I really. I just loved how he was like, "Yeah, go put this trophy on your mantle." Like, yep, cool. Like, bye, gotta go. I just loved it, and I'm still quite curious about this culture of, you know, you take stuff from erasing these people's lives, and now she puts it on display, and I think that's an interesting, you know, like, trophy taking behavior, especially when she's not even the one doing the work, right? She's not the one out in the field chasing them down with a team of people that may or may not come back in one piece. She's sitting in her office and then just taking these offerings. I think it says a lot about her. But yeah, I just loved the moment when he switched it, and then he was like, "You're right, gotta go, bye." It was like, great moment.
Yeah. So after that scene with B-15 and Sylvie, we cut back to Mobius, who now has the TemPad, discovers the truth, finds a file with C20 saying, you know, I had a whole life before the TVA. You know, we're all variants, you know. And we see Ravana, I'm not sure, you know, Renslayer, being the one that's like, you know, oh, cut the feed, and then it's like enhance. Oh, it's her, even though it's clearly her without enhancement. But it's a nice little dramatic moment. He immediately goes to Loki. And Loki is just talking to himself like, yes, I know you're gonna hit me again, I'm pathetic worm, whatever. And Mobius comes in and he's like, you know, were you telling the truth? You know, what you're, you know, is this the truth? Can I trust you? La 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 la. And he's just like, yes, like, this is the truth, like, you're variants, you know. He also has this great line where he's just like, you know, what does he say? Let me find it right. Here it is. He says, Mobius says, after he agrees to work with him, he says, you could be whatever you want to be, even someone good. I mean, just in case anyone ever told you different. Oh. I love Mobius so fucking much. Like, Mobius is so good. Like, I want an ongoing show that's just like the two of them is roommates, and Loki's like the screw up roommate, and you know, and Mobius is like the guy that's kind of his head on straight and like gives him heartwarming advice at the end of every episode. And you know, like, I just really love their connection. It's such a great moment between the two of them, and they're like, yeah, we're gonna go save the day. They step out to find that Renslayer and the TVA are waiting for them. There's this great sequence where, you know, she takes the TemPad back, and he's, well, what's wrong? You know, what's going on? And you know, he could tell, like, okay, obviously she knows what's going on. And so he says, you know where I'd want to go. He's like, wherever it is I'm really from, wherever I had a life before the TVA came along. That was an amazing moment. This beautiful moment of liberation. Maybe I had a jet ski. You know, it's such a great moment, and you're like, yes, figure out a way to escape. Let's do the thing. This is awesome. And then they prune him, and he disintegrates before our eyes. That was really rough, and right in front of Loki. It was heartbreaking. What do we think about one of our main characters exit out of this? Let's start with Crystal.
I'm in denial still, personally, especially after the very, very, very end of the episode. I'm like, maybe.
Fingers crossed.
I don't want him to be gone. We've used the word heartbreaking a lot in this episode, because that's what it's designed to do. But just him being like, maybe I had a jet ski, like that's where I want to go. I want to go wherever I'm from, and he's just so impassioned about it, and he's just so callously pruned. And the look on Loki's face, like, says it all. Like, yeah, they were bickering a lot, but this was somebody that Loki actually did in the end give a little bit of a damn about. So just watching him, the thing that shocked me was just how there was no order, there was no struggle. It was just do it, and he was gone. There was no it's out with a whimper, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sort of thing. And it hit hard because I loved Mobius, but fingers crossed that he comes back or isn't completely gone, or whatever, however we want to phrase it. Fingers crossed.
Absolutely. Mike said Ravonna and B-15 are such company men that it's super interesting seeing them split to completely opposite sides by the end. Yeah, it's really interesting to see those two paths diverge, for sure. Dahveed, what do you think about this sequence?
I like that Mobius is the one who he finds things out and comes to the realization that he had a past just from his own detective work and Loki, whereas the other two people we've seen have had to have been enchanted. Which also, I like that they've taken the Enchantress idea and still made it another Loki. They completely changed that character. Marvel does that occasionally, where they take a character and change them deeply, but still kind of do a nod to who the character is. And then we have they had established from the very beginning that weird friendship, like that weird work wifey friendship between Mobius and Renslayer, where it's like they care about each other more than anyone else at work. It's still a work relationship. She's still his boss, but they care about each other so much. They're obviously the best of work friends, and they exist in a world where work is all that there is. Which, what do you do when you're off shift in the TVA? Either way. So all of that, and she doesn't even do like a conversation with him to try to figure things out. It shows her just being heartless, which you see again in about 15 minutes. But the way she's just completely heartless towards him, of all people, I can, at that moment, I could buy and expect her to prune C20. That was fine. I did not expect her to have him taken out. Like, Sylvie, Loki, whatever. Boom. Prune them all. But him, it was just, oh no, so surprising. He disintegrated.
And without, any hesitation.
Yeah.
Prune him.
None.
Done with this guy. It's
sad.
Rough, it's sad. It is super sad.
Did not like that. Did not like that at all.
It's surprising. Oh, also, I love that actress. I've loved her since the first time I saw her was she played Martha Jones' sister on Doctor Who.
That's where I recognize her from.
Yeah.
Oh.
So I've loved her since series 3 of Doctor Who. I've loved Gugu Mbatha Raw. She's been in many other things since then, grown to quite a well-known actress. Yeah, it's rough seeing her in such a mean role, because I just adore her. So after this sequence, They take Loki. Oh, that's right. Then there's a quick aside where Renslayer goes to get Sylvie. Sees like Sylvie's soaking wet. Who is in here with you? And then some of the officers say, "Oh, B-15 came in here, ma'am." She insisted, "Just go find B-15." She's also been corrupted by the variant. They take Loki and Sylvie before the timekeepers, and here it is. This is the moment we've been waiting for. They finally get to meet them. They go in, and it's such a weird. The whole scene feels freaking weird, like we're watching something in an uncanny valley. And the timekeepers, they look cool, but their movements and like the way they talk just doesn't feel right to me in this moment. I'm looking very sideways at them in this moment. I was very confused. Oh, well, actually, Mike says Ravona's transition to full villain in this episode is so interesting, mostly because I don't think anyone saw it coming before this episode. Yeah, I knew she was involved somehow, but I wasn't expecting her to go like full on villain. That was a bit surprising to me for sure. While they're in the elevator going down to see the timekeepers, I forgot there's this really interesting, this little moment between Renslayer and Sylvie, where Sylvie's like, "Can you at least tell me like what I did that made you rip me away from my life? You know, what did I do that was so horrible to the sacred timeline?" And Renslayer just coldly says, "I don't remember." I'm like, she's so mean in this. It sucks so hard. Anyway, so we get to the timekeepers. They're, pontificating, what do you have to say for yourself before you meet your end variants and whatnot. All your struggles just to end up back here. La 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 la. And B-15 comes in, crashes the party, gives them, frees Sylvie and Loki so that they can fight. We get this really great fight sequence between them and the TVA that ends in the beheading of one of the timekeepers. And it's a freaking Disneyland animatronic. This is shocking. I am shook at this point. We, of course, then get the rest of the fight sequence. B-15 has been taken out. It's just Loki and Sylvie at this point. Loki's fighting his people. She's fighting Renslayer. She bests Renslayer, punches her in the face. It's just the two of them. Loki's trying to say something to Sylvie. I don't know if it's going to be a declaration of love. I'm not quite sure what he was about to say. It felt like he was about to say that he has feelings for her. And then Loki gets pruned by Renslayer. And at this point, I'm like, okay, I give up. I don't know what's up anymore. I'll stop there. What did we think about this final sequence of the episode? Start with Dahveed.
Again, the face acting. Sylvie and Renslayer. Renslayer has such a smug look on her face when she goes, "I don't remember." And Sylvie is broken by that, as a Loki would be, because that's more than just insulting. Sylvie has spent the last 1,000 years fighting the TVA and this woman who was the first one she fought. Her entire life was destroyed. Oh, it's a Tuesday moment from the street.
Yes. Well, freaking Bison.
Yeah, where
when M. Bison came to your village, yes. It was like the most significant day in your life. For me, it was a Tuesday. I love that scene. Good call.
Yeah, it's so much worse because your nemesis doesn't even consider you. You are nothing to them. And for a Loki, for a Loki to be told that is just wrecking. And then I'm gonna be honest, the fight scene, I didn't like it. I just thought the actual fighting was boring. I did like that she tosses the knife over to Loki. Very nice callback to him throwing the knife at her or to her or towards her and missing. But yeah, the actual fighting was boring. I also don't understand, like, you really, you turn your back on Renslayer, really? But yeah, that was
right. Why not just prune her?
Yeah, but the beheading was a great moment. What I noticed with the beheading is after the main, or at least the center time keeper gets beheaded, the others start laughing.
Yes.
Shutting off.
Yes.
So I think this is a Wizard of Oz situation. I think someone was controlling them and speaking through them. I think that when one got beheaded, whoever it was who was watching was like, ha, 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 ha. Oh, they're still screwed.
Do you think it's Kang?
I hope it's Kang. Or a version of Kang. I'd love to see Immortus. Heck, make it Nathaniel Richards.
Okay.
Or Ramatut.
Here's my problem because I feel like Kang has become this series Mephisto.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I don't
know.
Yeah.
And we're like 2 episodes from the finale. It's too late to introduce a new character. I said this during WandaVision. Like, I don't think they're bringing in Mephisto because they waited too long. We have 2 episodes left. I feel like it's too late to introduce another character. I was thinking about this today. How do you satisfy this arc with a reveal of who the villain is where it feels satisfying? And the only thing I can think of is that the person behind all of this is yet another Loki.
Old Loki, yeah.
So that's kind of where I'm thinking right now. So I hear a lot of Kang. I know Kang is supposed to be coming up in Quantum Mania? I think.
Which is another reason why I think it's probably not Kang, because we already know he's coming in Quantum Mania.
Yeah, so it could be. I'm not sure. It could be interesting. Crystal, what do you think about the sequence?
First of all, I was just happy that the timekeepers were not real, because that's what I had been hoping for all along, that we'd get some sort of like red herring reveal. I'm going to agree with Dahveed that the fight scene was actually kind of boring for me.
Mm-hmm.
And you know me, I normally love my fight scenes. I normally love watching people punch crap out of each other. It's, I just enjoy fight scenes. And this one was a bit boring. I did love B-15 walking in and throwing the weapon and going for all time, always, though.
Yes, great moment.
Oh, such a great moment. She's using that company slogan, against them. And then when Loki got pruned, I was like, well, here's the hand. In my mind, I was like, here's the handoff. Like, here's one person leaving the stage in this role, and now Sylvie will just take over, and the rest of the series is going to be about her. But Maui, why don't you sum up the rest of everything? Share the rest of my freaking thought.
So when I saw that, I immediately thought, okay, so if they're pruning people, pruning isn't actually killing them.
Right.
Because there's no, this is number 1 on the call sheet, and you're killing him fairly unceremoniously with 2 episodes left. There are scenes we've seen in the previews, for instance, President Loki, that haven't been satisfied yet. So so I'm like, to my mind, I'm like, so maybe they don't die, or maybe Sylvie assumes the form of Hiddleston Loki. I don't know, right? Because they're tricksters. Yeah, that could be too. Don't know. And actually, now that I think about it, I don't even know if she can change form because she was never trained. So I don't know. Anywho, We get a nice sequence ending end credits. Once again, the song has changed. I like that we get like a different flavor at the end of every episode. Liked this song. Then we get our first, finally, post-credit sequence. I had a feeling this time we would get a post-credit sequence. We see Loki wake up. He says, "Am I dead? Is this hell?" When he says hell, if you have the subtitles on, it says, "Is this hell?" Hel, not Hell, as we're used to seeing. He says, "Is this hell?" Hel, which I believe is a nod to Hela.
No,
Is
it's
that
the
correct?
Norse. It's Norse hell. It's
Yeah, but is it?
it's
But
Norse
is that
hell.
Hela's domain
What's
with her
her
name being
domain in
Hela, right?
mythology? Yeah,
Right.
but
Okay. That's what I was thinking.
Place.
Yeah. And then you hear a voice. It's just like, no, you're not dead. Let me find the exact line pulling up right now. He says, "Am I dead?" And then the voice says, "Not yet. But you will be, I believe, but you will be unless you come with us." Sits up. We get the reveal of 3 Lokis standing there. I'm assuming they're all Lokis. We have
4 Maui,
4 Lokis.
4 little
4 Lokis. I keep forgetting about alligator Loki.
I'm living for alligator Loki. Excuse you.
It's so weird. So we have,
I'm
I pulled it up right here. We have alligator Loki. We have a kid Loki holding alligator Loki. We have a black Loki, and we have an old Loki. I don't know the alligator or the other 2 actors, but the older Loki is being played by the great Richard E. Grant. That is awesome. In the background, you see a destroyed Avengers tower. I'm very confused. What could this be? I don't know. And that's the episode. What did we think about this reveal at the end? Crystal, let's start with you.
I'm so excited. I loved it. Like I was like at peace with the end of the episode. I was like, okay, like things are going. Like I know that there's some other stuff has to come in, yeah, whatever. Okay, this was a good episode. I always like to watch through because I like the music, and I like to watch the end credit scenes because they're all slightly different from each other, or the credits rather. And then the end credit scene popped up, and I was like, "Is that an alligator?" Because yes, I'm here for it. Like I don't know how this is gonna work, but I am living to see what they do with alligator Loki. It felt a little bit Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse for me. But I love that movie, so I'm like, I'm okay if we do if we do something similar with Loki. I'm kind of down for it. Super looking forward to what happens. Like the tower in the background just piqued my interest, and now I'm legitimately mad. I have to wait till next week to see what happens because I was at peace. I was like, okay, cool. See you next week. And now I'm like, wait, hold, like, no, get back here and explain that to me right now. Like now, I ain't gonna wait no week. Get over here. That's how I feel about it. Sorry, I'm very passionate about this last.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I'm just looking at the scene again. I scrubbed through on my phone while we talk.
Here for alligator Loki.
Yes, there's alligator Loki.
He's got the little horns.
It's super cute. Dahveed, what do we think about this episode? Or this in credit sequence.
Ah! Sorry to my neighbors for the stopping. No, Kid Loki, comics accurate Kid Loki, fantastic, love it. I'm very, very excited about that.
We had except for Kate Bishop, we had all the Young Avengers at this point.
Almost all of them, yeah. I mean, wow. Kate Bishop's coming up. Miss America's coming up. Yeah, I think we have all the Young Avengers set up, which is going to be a lot of fun. So much fun. But yeah, so Kid Loki looks perfect. His body language is great, holding the The alligator, or I'm sorry, crocodile. I believe it was determined that it's a crocodile Loki.
You
Is it
find
crocodile
reptile
Loki? Okay.
Loki.
I don't know the difference.
Crocodiles have round noses. And
It does have a round nose.
And then
maybe I'm wrong. Oh God.
Then okay, so Black Loki. Black Loki, he's dressed for cold weather. He's got fur on. He's got, I mean, definite swag. He's definitely got swag. He has a hammer with gold trim. I want to know more about him. But as excited as I was for Kid Loki, which I expected to be, because I love Kid Loki, classic comics Loki, as older Loki, made me so excited. I love seeing him like that. I'm wondering, like, I honestly expected him to be the big bad, though. I expected him to be like the evil old Loki that we saw in some of the comics. That's up against Kid Loki, and it's not. So thrown for a loop. Great. Love that. Also, it's the guy from Warlock. Love him. Yeah, no, that.
So you go Warlock, I go Hudson Hawk.
Oh, the bad guy from Hudson Hawk.
Yeah, he's amazing in that. Oh, he's so good. His presence is so big in that. Oh, I love it. So him and who's his wife, Sandra Bernhardt. Oh my God, they're amazing. We should do a reaction to Hudson Hawk. I'm in love with that.
Done. I'm down with that. I love that movie. I love Sandra Bernhardt. Recently went back and watched a bunch of her old Letterman appearances.
I'm here for it. So, what do we think of this? Let's rate this episode. I'll go first this time. I haven't. Sorry. I'm a Crystal about being at peace. I wish they hadn't shown that end scene. Would have made for a lot of theories and debates during the. Yeah. So let me throw something out at y'all. Before we get to ratings, it's not a full-on conspiracy rant like last time. I will have one more before this is over, though. I promise.
Yes.
What if this has all happened before?
That's what I thought.
Like because I can't get over the moment where we really focus in on the multiple rings on the table. What if this isn't the first time Mobius has found out? What if they keep pruning and pulling other, Mobiuses, from the thing? Like we saw there used to be a different judge. If time has no meaning here, why was the judge replaced? Right? Like it's not like these people grow old and die. Time works differently here in the TVA, as we've been told. What makes it so that you shift over? I'm wondering if this has happened before. If these Lokis that we see in this, what I'm assuming is like maybe it's like the husk of a previous timeline, like a dead time that they kind of just shove everybody into. Universe is going from start to finish. It's over. A new universe was reborn. He who remained started up the new. You know what I'm talking about. Dahveed. I see you. He who remains starts up a new timeline, and then to try and keep order, creates this new timeline, the sacred timeline, and everything that tries to branch off gets tossed into the dead husk of this old timeline. That's kind of what I'm thinking. And so maybe this has happened before, and this is not, and it keeps happening with Lokis because Lokis are particularly chaotic, as we've been told. Lokis are the most prone to variation. So, maybe they keep trying to have free will, do what they want, create multiple possibilities, endless possibilities, and they keep getting shoved into this thing. And so we'll have like this huge, like, council of Lokis that, army of Lokis that, are going to wage war against the timekeepers. I'm very excited at the possibilities of that. So that's just a little thing that kind of went off in my brain last night when I was rewatching. I'd be curious to get if y'all have any like wild speculations before we get to our review, before we get to our scores for this.
I kind of am on the same wavelength there, where this has happened again and again. And I think that it's just like the same Mobius just rebooted. Like everybody just kind of rebooted. Like you screw up and they have to go back to a different timeline, and they pull the same people in from different points in different timelines, perhaps something along those lines. Because I noticed too, like why would she have been one rank and then another rank if we know that they're all variants, but where did that other guy go? Where did that other judge go? The fact
and
that
I will say in the flashback scene, the person at the desk when they first bring Sylvie in, I'm pretty sure it's the same person.
It is.
Right? So I don't know. Sorry.
Yeah, but also like the fact that the two other timekeeper bots laugh as if like ha ha ha, been there, done that, bought the t-shirt, like, or in this kind of tone of like, this has all happened, it's going to happen again. Like part of me wonders, like, is somebody just collecting Lokis? Like, is somebody just out there to get as many Lokis as they can and put them in one spot and erase all Lokis and, if possible? Because we have no indication that any of the other variants were any version of a Loki. But I was like, are they just putting all these Lokis into a pocket dimension and seeing what happens? Because that sounds like a terrible idea. Yet awesome at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what I thought. Side note, alligators have the rounded snout and crocodiles have the pointy snout. So I think that is an alligator. But that's just me stuck on reptilian Loki because I'm really stupidly excited for that. Dahveed, did you have anything to add before I digress?
Okay, so they're on a ruined Earth. Is it one where Loki succeeded and during the invasion of New York? Maybe. Who knows? Because Avengers Tower, I don't think is there anymore by definitely not by Endgame. Because they've had their other campus for a while.
But the building still exists. They just sold it. I'm assuming that they sold it to someone named Baxter, and then it's going to become the Baxter building for the Fantastic Four. That's my guess.
Maybe. It's all been doom. It's evil Richards all the whole time. But no, okay. So I don't think I'm getting my like Kid Loki, evil old Loki storyline that I so want, which is fine. But so when they prune someone, it looks like that's probably where they take them to re-educate them. Because if they've all been variants at some point, and we've seen the variants just get pruned willy-nilly almost immediately every time they come through. Yeah, that dead world is probably just a holding place where they re-educate them before bringing them back in as variants. And I don't think a Loki you would be able to do that with. So yeah, they probably shunted them off over there. The other thing with that though is I'm still stuck on timelines and alternate timelines. If you create an alternate timeline by just doing a tiny little thing, how do we have, and they have destroyed their mission is to destroy all those alternate timelines and only have one sacred timeline, right?
Yeah.
How do you have Sylvie be born and make it to, I don't know, 6, 7? How old is she there? No one can know. But
my guess would be like 8 or 9.
Yeah.
But yeah, how do you have her be born and last until 8 or 9? How do you have Kid Loki be tweenish, or old Loki, old comic book Loki, or any of that? Because they like each one of those has a completely different reality around them. So it cannot be anywhere near the sacred timeline. You cannot have old time like 60s comic book Loki with MCU Thor.
Right. The sequence of events that would allow it to be that significantly different would have happened probably hundreds of years ago.
Yeah.
It had nothing to do with them. We're talking about butterfly effects that completely change the course of the future. There's such huge variations. I've been thinking about that too. That like, how do we get to something that aberrant?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. What kind of thanks, Mike. What kind of change happens to have a reptile as a reptilian Loki? How does that happen? Also, I want to know, like, it's not a humanoid reptile. It's not so we're not talking a Spider-Ham situation.
When the honest trailer for Loki comes out, if at the end they don't call it Loki into the Loki verse, I will be very upset, because they always give it like their honest trailer title at the end. It needs to be Loki into the Loki verse.
I would love to have a Loki verse. It'd be so much fun. I have a theory on why there's an alligator. Like, I got a theory on that. But
I am very curious as to what your
Dahveed's face was great.
What is your reptile theory? Does it have to do with Thomas being a Skrull?
It has nothing to do with Thomas being a Skrull or Eric being a Skrull, unfortunately. My thought when I saw the alligator is, like, we know that he has transformation, at least in this one. I was like, maybe he tried to transform and got stuck.
Oh.
And that was the change of the timeline. So my thought is that these people are from the old timeline, from the multiverse war, and that's why they're so advanced, different. Like for Sylvie, I'm wondering if she just did something small in the moment and just happened to be in that form. No, because if she can't change, then she was born in that form, which would make no sense. Yeah, I don't know. There has to be something more to it. I don't know. We'll find out. Let's get to our ratings, because I don't think we'll figure out those answers today. Let's get to our ratings and close this out. I'll give my rating first. I'm going to. I have not done this in quite some time. I'm giving this a 5. I'm giving this a perfect score. I've been really holding on to my perfect scores for a while, and I freaking love this. I don't care if the fight scene was underwhelming. I absolutely adore this episode. And I'm usually not there for the fights anyway. I'm there for the story. So this was a perfect episode for me. I freaking loved it. Crystal, what about you?
I'm at a 4.5 because it would have been perfect if that fight scene was better.
I have hope that next week will be a 5 for me, though. I have a very strong hope that it will be. But yeah, 4.5. I thought overall, great, wonderful story, so much going on, really good writing, and like that surprise at the end, like I'm slightly annoyed. Like, get back here and give me more. Like, I wasn't planning on abandoning the series, Marvel. You didn't need to do that to me. I was going to be there next week regardless.
What about you, Dahveed?
I'm going to have to go with Crystal on this one. The fight scene was lame. I also had a couple of questions a couple times during it and it's, I guess, not this episode's fault, but part of me was just like, it's a little bit quick, or like with the relationship between Loki and Mobius, or the relationship between Mobius and Renslayer. It's just, I could have used with a couple of more minutes of them being friends on both ends in the previous one. Not a full episode, but just an extra 2 minutes could have made the world of difference. So I did have with Loki, I was just like, have they hung out enough? I guess so. I don't know how long they were working together. That could have been one day, That could have been 3 years. It's a TVA. We don't know, but a little bit more sprinkled in. But then that's mostly made up for by like the visuals throughout the timekeepers. When they're holding hands, just the way they framed that shot when they're holding hands, looking at the end of the world being Lamentis, all the rocks coming in, the purple, the blue, it's so good. But yeah, boring fight scene at a climactic moment. If it had been a boring fight scene at the beginning, boring fight scene.
I could let that slide too, but
this was at the most important moment of the main episode, not including the
finally get to the timekeepers and the fight scene is boring. That's where I was coming from on that.
But I really enjoyed it. I'm going to go with 4.5. I have lots of questions going into the next episode. That was a Brian K. Vaughan level final page where it's just like, what? Damn it.
That was like the first 50 issues of Why the Last Man. At the end of every issue, I was just like, what? Like David Tennant at the end of a Doctor Who season. What?
I was working at running a comic shop during Why the Last Man, and it was that Transmet and a couple of other books. The weeks they came in were, all right, everyone has to wait an extra 15 minutes for their comics because me and the owner would sit down and read it before doing anything else with the books. And then we would get really upset and just be like, God damn it. But yeah, that's how it felt at the end of this episode with that post-credit scene. It was wonderful and upsetting.
Yes.
I love it. Anything to plug before we log off here? Got anything, Crystal?
No, well, apart from my big conference next week, but that's not like
archaeology conference, real life stuff.
Yeah, big medieval conference next week. IMC leads. If any of you are, in some odd reason, attending, I'm on a Thursday session.
I love it.
Talking about
Dahveed, what about you?
I just recorded a podcast guest shot where we talk about Society, the 1989 horror movie. That'll probably be uploaded in about 3 weeks, though. So just Uncanny Cinema, go find the ones I'm on because I'm wonderful, and then listen to the rest, I guess. We did talk about the Corman Fantastic Four at one point, so for the comic book geeks.
Ooh, I love that. I will plug. I have my book launch coming up next month, and I'll give y'all here an exclusive here at the end of Loki. What?
Oh my god!
What?
Oh, I love it. Oh,
I got a book, y'all.
It's this month now, by the way, Maui. I think
Today is the 1st. In 3 weeks. Well, 2.5 weeks, really.
2.5 weeks.
Yeah, there you go. There's my book, all done and in my hands. So there's a thing.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, there you go. So get a copy later this month. Check it out, brah. All right. Thank you so much for watching. We will be back next week to talk about episode 5. Wednesday cannot get here soon enough. Yes. Just saying. All right, y'all. Have a good one. Peace out.